Welcome, everyone. My name is Heather Zessiger. I'm the Deputy Director for the Campus COVID-19 Vaccination and Mitigation Initiative, known as CoVAC, a program of the American College Health Association, and we are funded through a cooperative agreement with the CDC. We are so thrilled to have you all with us. This is our monthly digital media training series, predominantly for students. I know we do have some advisors in the room as well, but please make sure this all gets into the hands of your students. And in a moment, I'll put in the chat the link where you can find the recordings of the previous sessions. So feel free to share those. And that should tell you that, yes, we will make a recording available along with handouts that YMC has compiled on this topic, which is really exciting. So again, a reminder, this is set up as a meeting, not a webinar. So please do mute yourself. And we will have lots of time for questions, both verbally and in the chat along. But until then, please stay muted. All right, I will turn it over to Hannah and Molly.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see some of the faces, familiar names at least. For those who do not know, my name is Hannah Hickman. I'm the Digital Marketing Director for YMC. We are a full-service marketing communications agency focused on youth. And today I have my co-presenter Molly with me.
Hi everybody, my name is Molly. I'm a senior program manager at YMC, and I've worked with ACHA through YMC for the past several months, and we've done a lot of on-campus planning and executing events. So I'm excited to talk about that today.
So today we're going to dive into planning and executing on-campus events. Many of you already have experience with this, and we absolutely want to talk about that and troubleshoot and answer questions. But let's just get into how do we ensure that these events are set up for success and they're impactful for those attending, and more importantly, less stressful for you. And if you have questions throughout, just drop them in the chat. We'll address them as they come up. We'll also have room at the end to talk. So planning event. There's a few things you want to do to start before you start just going into an event to make sure it's going to be successful and less stressful for you. So the first thing that you could do is create an event brief. This is just a quick sheet. Think about what you want to do, what goals do you want to set, what's the desired outcome. There's a few different ways to think about this: who, what, when, where, and how, very basic. Who needs to be involved? What is this event going to be? What do you need? When and where can it take place? How will this event go from an idea to actual event? It's better to overplan, come up with a few backups and what if scenarios than be underprepared. To create this event brief, treat it as a living document and make sure you add to it, edit it as needed. It's a really good way to brainstorm and also have that looking back and be able to oh, we thought about this, why didn't we do this, and so forth. It's also very important to include those who are working on campus as early as possible. There are many other students, organizations, faculty, staff, and outside people who are also planning. And there might be some further considerations that you need to take into your planning efforts related to hosting an on-campus event. Do you need to have staff on site? Do you need security? Do you need to pay fees? Do you need to, especially to use certain facilities, or hire people? We also made sure to include some examples of these event planning briefs in the handouts that you will receive later. A good way for this campus, sorry, let me refresh that for a second. A good way to start with your event is to connect with other people, whether it's other student organizations or on-campus offices or departments. They likely already have a lot of resources. They have an expanded audience, and it will allow you to tap into those expanded knowledge. It's also going to take off a lot of the stress associated with event planning as a single person or as a single organization. Very early on, budgeting is very important. Events cost money. Even the quote unquote free events, there usually is some sort of investment. Take some time to review your budget, plan for some emergencies. We also did include budgeting templates that you could use. It's also very helpful to connect with other student orgs from campus to see if they have any examples, any further advice as well. As we said, engaging with your on-campus officials earlier is going to allow you to anticipate those fees with hosting an on-campus event. They're also going to likely have resources to help you budget and plan for any unforeseen expenses and potentially even help add to your budget. With an event brief before you start, you want to define success. What is going to be the key benchmark that's going to say, I succeeded with this event? Set your goals and figure out what you need to make it successful. We definitely suggest setting two types of goals: one that is very realistic and likely achievable, and one that is very lofty, little pie in the sky. Not totally impossible, but it might not happen. It's good to have these two sets of goals just so you have a benchmark to reach and one to exceed. But you also don't want to set yourself up by disappointment by setting one very unrealistic goal. I also did want to add just a very quick note, a quick consideration about COVID-19. We've been living with it for 2 years, as I'm sure you're all very familiar with. I'm sure there's a lot of varying levels of comfort in regards to in-person events, masking, social distancing as well as a lot of variation in terms of local mandates, what your school's demanding and so forth. Just make sure when you're planning an event, make sure you're aware of what these mandates and rules are, what is and isn't allowed, and also plan based on comfort levels. If you personally, or if the organization you're working with or a part of is not comfortable with certain aspects, such as like a large in-person event, consider other options to ensure that everyone's safe and no one is put in an uncomfortable situation. I'm sure this is something that many of you guys have already navigated, but definitely something good to keep in mind as we're looking to the spring semester and even next fall. Let's talk about some of these events that we can do on campus. This is just a very, very, very small sampling of what can happen, usually pretty broad topics. I'm sure you all have great ideas and great experience, but these are just some really good, easy places to start. So tabling is very easy to do. It's a low lift, fairly effective, usually extremely cheap. It's a great way to have one-on-one conversations with a variety of people and get your message out to a broad audience. However, we did talk about some conflict management before. There is a higher chance that you might encounter conflict, especially if you are talking about something that is emotionally loaded, such as COVID or vaccination. However, if you refer back to some of our older presentations, we have given you some tools for conflict de-escalation. Another good way to host an event on campus is a volunteer event. People like giving back and they don't necessarily have the time for a long-term commitment. Hosting a volunteer event will allow people to give back in a quick way, allow you to engage with them, and allow you to spread your message. Some potential ideas would be packing sanitation kits for unhoused people, phone and text banking, hanging posters, or a letter writing event where people can write letters to elected officials, to their peers to encourage them to get vaccinated, to thank healthcare workers. They're very low-cost options, and it allows you to mobilize volunteers in short-term engagement while also building a long-term relationship. So another very popular event on campus is something relaxation focused. College is stressful. I so do not need to tell any of you that. Hosting an event with the aim to relax and distress will generally attract a lot of people, and will also send a message that you care about others, your organization cares about your campus. These events can include yoga, guided meditation, pet therapy, free hot drinks like coffee or hot chocolate and tea, or more. Even just like a space like I've seen some napping events that might be a little bit harder to plan, but they do exist. The fourth event we want to talk about is talk related or talking. There's a lot of ways to encourage your peers to get talking and to get them listening. Bringing in a speaker followed by a group discussion, or even just hosting a group discussion, really encourage people to come together, share ideas, express concerns, and be able to maybe allay some of their fears. Also, this is a great networking opportunity, which is really good to bring in young college students who might not otherwise be engaged. And it's also a really great way for you yourself to gather information for future events and engagements. We also want to talk about photo ops as an event or part of event. We're all on social media. We're all dying to add more content to our feeds. Being able to provide content for others will be a big draw. This is great as an event by itself in a very high traffic area, say a campus quad, by a lunch hall, or in tandem with other events, say that a fraternity is doing a social or a dance or a fundraiser themselves. So you can also kind of tack on to that. A good way to provide these is create one of those in real life Instagram frames, providing photo booth props, having a step and repeat or a backdrop. This will encourage people to interact. And when they do share those images on social media, your message is going to get a lot further and encourage more people to engage, to look more into what you're doing. And then finally, I would like to say the two best words that a college student can never hear: free food. If you can provide food, whether it's a snack, candy, a full meal, dessert, people are going to come and they're going to engage. Even if they have no interest previously, they're going to want to get food. This can easily be combined with other events or a standalone, hosting an ice cream social, a pancake breakfast. I know midnight breakfasts are very common and popular, or even something along those lines, even including candy at your tabling events. It's a great way to get social media, photo opportunities, good conversation, and also get your message out and build great relationships with a very broad audience. Molly,
All right, so let's talk a little bit about prep. So before an event, you definitely want to make sure you take the time to get organized and prepare appropriately, and there's a lot to do. So first, you're going to figure out exactly what the timelines are that you need to execute the event, figure out exactly what you need in terms of material, space, strategize, and really find a high traffic area on campus, and make sure that you're ordering your supplies and materials well in advance so that you don't have any kind of production issues that set your timelines back. Things like tables, chairs, giveaways, that kind of thing, really make an event come together. So you don't want to kind of put yourself in a position where you're trying to pull it off without all the necessary items. You'll want to write all of this down in a way that is easy for everyone on your team to reference and follow, and figure out who needs to be contacted for what. To that point, you also want to make sure you keep contact information top of mind for everyone who's involved. So if you're working with a big team or a small team or just a pair, you want to keep an ongoing and accurate updated list of all contact information for vendors, clients, other coordinators, that kind of thing, just so that everybody is on the same page. Delegation is also a really important part of this. If you're working with a team, you need to delegate. You don't need to do the whole event by yourself, especially if you have others who are willing and able to help. It's an important leadership skill, and it's a great opportunity to develop and to showcase it on something like a resume. And it's really easy to kind of fall into the trap of taking everything on by yourself and not allowing others to help. But it's okay to give up a little bit of control and help people bring their own experiences and perspective, which will likely improve your event and the user experience. And the next thing is to confirm. Always make sure that you're reaching out to people week of, day of, live, that everything is on track and available at the time that you're going to need it. Events like these tend to have a lot of moving parts, so you need to make sure that you're incorporating that in your preparation. And then lastly is a dress rehearsal. We always think that it's a really great idea to write up a run of show for the day of the event and write up exactly what it is that needs to be done, who will be doing it, what time it needs to be done, and any other important details or notes. And this will help keep everyone organized and on the same page. And consider the user experience when you are running through your kind of dress rehearsal. Even if you're not physically able to dress rehearse, maybe just run through with a team at a round table. Keep all the important contact information in one place. Having to search through your emails if you're like day of trying to get everything coordinated at the last minute, it'll definitely be helpful to have everything written out and organized in a sort of run of show format.
Perfect. No, okay. Sorry, I thought I was on mute. So let's talk about promotion. Part of event planning is promoting and making sure people actually know that you're hosting an event. There's a balance that you need to try to achieve to getting out the word in a timely manner, not being too early, not being too late. College students tend to be very busy. They don't want to hear about an event 2 months in the future because they might not be able to plan very well. They also don't want to hear about it and show the day of. So take some time to plan how you're going to promote in your overall event plan and your event brief, and figure out what is most strategic so you can use your time in the best possible way. There's 2 ways that we're going to divide this up, just digital and in-person. Digital, there's a lot of options, vast majority of which are free. Social media is probably the most easy and obvious. Everyone's on social media, and if they're not, they know someone who is. Post about it, share links. You can message people if that's appropriate. If that's probably better if you're coming from a page rather than an individual. If you can create a toolkit to share to other organizations and departments, instant orgs, including social media copy, images, flyers, and so forth, you will be able to mobilize others and spread the word more effectively. A website could also be an option. A lot of time making a website from scratch is likely not realistic, especially if it is a smaller one-off event. However, if there's already an existing web page, whether it's for an organization or if you're collaborating with a campus department, you can often use that to create a little event on there or a web page that will house all the information and allow for easier social sharing. Graphics are a very easy way to generate interest. Digital infographics and posters can be shared anywhere online and makes it visually appealing, helps people remember your event details, and also makes it more likely for them to share it with their network As always, we highly suggest Canva. It's free, it's user-friendly, and they usually have a lot of templates to help you. And then finally, creating an event online can help you tap into further audiences. Events like platforms like Facebook has an event feature, and sites like Eventbrite will allow you to create an event, share that information, and if it is something that you need to sell tickets for, or just have a registered attendance, whether it's free or paid, it can give you a better idea about event attendance and help you plan and anticipate. There's also a variety of in-person promotion opportunities. Flyers are very effective, flyers and posters, as long as they're well done and they're very clear. If your campus has a place for them, it's a great idea to put them in a high traffic area. Just make sure you're not violating anything. There are rules depending on where you are. Keep it simple, punchy, easy readable, and then you get bonus points if you can make it so people could take part of the poster with them. Say you cut the bottom with the website or the QR code, something like that. Tabling, while we did mention it as an event itself, it's also a good way to build up some hype towards an event, helps get people interested. It gives you the opportunity to talk one-on-one with people about the event, sign up to either attend or learn more, and to engage with people who otherwise might not know about your event or your organization or your mission and cause otherwise. Tabling can be as simple as sitting at a table in an area. There's a lot of people, having some flyers and someone to talk to, or you can incorporate some items to give away like swag, food, candy. And if you are working with a campus department, almost all of them have t-shirts for that they might be a little bit desperate to get rid of, especially if they're older or out of date. See if you can snag a few of those to give away. And then QR codes, as I mentioned before, the flyers, they've had a massive resurgence in the past few years through the pandemic. Before that, QR codes had a very, very low success rate in terms of people actually using them. Now everyone's using them. When you're making posters and something like a physical item for this event, have a QR code on there. That way people can take the information with them easily. Yes, it's nice when they can tear a little piece off the poster, but they'll lose that. QR code, if it's on their phone, they're going to have it. This will also give your team a little bit of an advantage with getting some analytics, just get an idea of interest and things like that, and also where you're going to find success.
All right, so day of event. Always arrive early. Give yourself plenty of time to work out any issues. Take the care to properly set up and to take a deep breath. Running an event can be somewhat stressful, and having to rush into the event will only lead to more issues and more stress. So set up early as you can, and bring some friends or volunteers to help if you have any available to you. Ensure that the space is prepared, that you have all of your supplies, that you have pretty much that you're ready for all the attendees. Arriving early will ensure a smoother setup and better communication, which leads us to point 2. Communicate. So establish a day of communication thread before, but you definitely want to make sure that you have a group chat with all of the relevant parties for the event. So again, we've mentioned a couple of examples, but vendors, suppliers, artists, or performers, if you have any other important attendees or managers, etc. So do this in advance to make sure that you aren't scrambling in the case that something pops up unexpectedly. Utilizing social media. It's really fun to go live. So make sure that if that's something that's available to you and that you or someone on your team is comfortable doing, it's something you do. It's best to designate one person to handle this if you have that resource. And make sure that they take pictures, write copy, take notes, that kind of thing, post live, go live actually on a platform like Facebook or Instagram. And make sure that other people who take images or notes have a place to sort of submit those so that they're all on the same page. So that could be a shared album or a website or something like that to exchange images. Next is troubleshooting. Make sure that, sometimes things don't work out and it's all right, but you want to make sure that you are prepared with a solution. Kind of try your best to forecast or anticipate potential issues. And that way you'll have a little bit of a better idea about what it is you might need to correct those. And lastly, clean up. This seems really simple, but you'd be shocked about how complicated it might seem to certain people running events. Don't leave important items behind, clearly for your own reasons. Don't leave unimportant items behind, like trash. Sometimes even like leaving free giveaways is more of an inconvenience than taking them back and handling them yourself. So definitely always the golden rule of any kindergarten classroom is leave it how you found it. Don't leave any trace behind of the event if at all possible. And this will make people at your school, on your campus, more inclined to work with you again in the future.
Perfect. So wrapping up the event, you did it, it's over, now what? Create and share a thorough recap after the dust is settled. Sit down, write up a quick email giving a recap of the event, give an overview of the event, the results. If you have images, those are also great to share, and send it out to those you work with to put the event on. Yes, even those who work on campus. Seeing this follow-up will help build some relationships with these staff members and make it a lot easier for you to host events in the future, and also build these relationships in a way that they're going to help you. It also does, a lot of people like seeing what the work they do, how it ended up. Make sure that you check in and follow up those that you work with. Make sure there's no items outstanding, all their items were returned properly. Sometimes things fall through the cracks and you don't want to find out months later that you were supposed to return something that might already be in the trash. Also, you also don't want to cause any issues with any outstanding bills if there is a payment issue. It's important to take some time for reflection, either alone or with your fellow event organizers. It's really important for a good wrap up and to end this chapter. Take some time to think about the event itself, the goals that you set, what went well, and what can be improved in the future. We included a good reflection template in the handouts, so you get some idea of how to do that and how to facilitate it. So it's also important to take a stock of the lessons learned. After this reflection, take some time to write out the process you went through from beginning to end. Be as detailed as you want to be. More details usually better. This can serve as a guide for you and for others you share it with going forward. Writing out the process, what can be improved, what issues that you encountered, and how you dealt with them. Important thing about writing up this as well, not just for you, you're only in college for so long, and that means when you leave, you're taking some of that institutional knowledge and lessons learned with you, with no way for future students who might be in a similar role to learn from this experience. If you're working with a campus partner, share those lessons learned with them so they have this knowledge going forward. If you're working with a student org, many of them do have a central place where they have information that they pass down. And if these aren't options that are available, see if you can work with the event department on campus to hold on to these notes and pass them along to planning future events. Granted, it can't always be feasible, but it is a really good way to ensure that the next time could be even more successful. So let's wrap up real quick. Many of you have already hosted events on campus, whether it's in this role as a peer ambassador or in other student orgs. What challenges have you encountered? You have any really unique experiences, any helpful tips? Feel free to throw it in the chat. You can come off mute as well. I believe there's a raise hand feature. I can't see as a host, but if not, just come off mute. Are there any very valuable tips that you have to successfully execute an event? Okay, we just got a question. A wellness talk series has been going on for years, variety of presenters, and roughly 6 talks per semester. We shifted to virtual at the start of the pandemic, and it's going very well up until this fall when video views and live attendance increased. Now we changed them back to in-person, and we haven't had a single attendee. We started going live, but not too many have joined. This is pretty common for an ongoing series that it loses some momentum. It sounds like a great thing, especially during the pandemic. People were looking for wellness. They were looking to engage online. I think people are a bit burnt out. I think it's important to realize that people are a little sick of being on video all the time. It might be also the in-person might be a little bit challenging because there are varying levels of comfort. I think a good way would be to step back, examine the event format and see, is there a way that you can change it? You can also look back on previous analytics just in terms of, for this particular speaker and topic, we had X amount of attendees. For this one, we had a different amount of attendees. What was that successful point in the past? And can you replicate that in a different way? But yeah, it's also just important to realize that people are burnt out. The spring semester can always be a little rough, especially on midterms. But yes, thank you for bringing that forward. If things were working in the past and they're not working now, it's always good to take a few minutes to look back at what used to work. Did you change them, or do we need to change them going forward? Good part of that reflection at the end is also looking at those past notes. And granted, you might not have done it before, but going forward, it'll be a lot more helpful. All right, it looks like we have 5 minutes. I'm still going to be in the chat for a little bit if you want to throw anything there. I'm going to kick it over to Heather for a question that was posed from the CDC. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate you guys attending.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Hannah and Molly. Yes, so those of you on the call, the CDC has asked for your wisdom. They recognize that message fatigue is a thing and that we are now approaching midway through this semester. There's been a lot of back and forth on masking, mandates, physical distancing, concerns about folks bringing COVID back from spring break. What are you able to do on your campus to make your messaging around COVID fresh and engaging? Any good ideas? Feel free to come off mute or put them in the chat.
That's a really big question. I know our campus specifically, we reevaluated our vaccination strategy and our messaging around that. Around Christmas, it was around over winter break, we kind of redeveloped a new campaign with talking about COVID. We had changed it prior, it was Count on Me. Then we changed it to It's Worth a Shot to kind of validate those choices and that getting vaccinated is a choice. We hope that we will be able to continue with it, you know, especially with the emphasis of that it's a choice. And now that masks, you know, although they are no longer mandated, it still is a choice that you can wear them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But again, everything, all this has just changed so soon. And especially with students coming back from spring break, we've heard some expressed concerns from students, and especially I think it's more so coming from seniors, you know, they don't want to see a huge surge or anything to impact their graduation. So it's honestly a little bit rocky right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. Any other ideas from folks? Well, I know. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to add something else since it seems a little quiet. But we also have a TikTok channel where specifically for our health services department. And I've been creating like a COVID coffee hour, COVID update series that has surprisingly been getting more views week by week. And I found that that has been a pretty effective tool, you know, especially the target, you know, majority of our students right now are Gen Z, and knowing that most of them are on TikTok and on these platforms. And it's been nice being able to see students engaging with it more and more as time goes on. So that's been an effective strategy for us, especially the spring semester. I don't know if that would help anyone else who's in here.
That's great, Amy. Thank you. We haven't seen many examples yet of kind of official university offices using TikTok. So that's really exciting that your student health service has embraced that. And the coffee chats are happening kind of live on TikTok, or you're using TikTok as a way to promote them, or both?
Unfortunately, we don't have enough followers yet to be able to go live, but they're just 1 minute long videos that I create and kind of go, you know, week by week, trying to communicate different educational components. You know, in the beginning, it was all the updates with the isolation and quarantine changes, you know, updates with booster shots and the time changes of that, and stressing the importance of boosters. And then it was explaining N95 masks and how they work and why they're more effective compared to the other ones. And so we've kind of, it changes week by week, but yeah, it's just about one 60-minute video. Sometimes it does end up becoming 2 parts. So it'll be 2 videos posted on the same day. But.
Great, thank you. And there've been a few more comments in the chat. If any of you are driving, I'll just read them off. So Bennett said it was a tough question that Amy posed before. He suggests making sure that posters and graphics are updated often and moved around. So if the same poster sits in the same spot for weeks or months, then folks just tune it out. Gwyneth added adapting the messaging and speaking to students directly in their voice and where they are has been effective. Hang in there, everybody. And then Margarita says to keep it fresh. They're using games like Jenga to get information out, so it's not so serious. And with talks of the fourth vaccine or a fourth dose, they're preparing for any questions or concerns from students. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. We do try to keep this series, each session pretty short and sweet because we understand your time constraints. Hannah and I will stick around for a couple of minutes. Please do engage with the GroupMe if you have further questions or ideas. And I put in the chat the link to join that. So if you're not part of our digital peer network, you can join that through the GroupMe. And hear about other events like this, but also take part in just discussion and support. And I hope you're all giving yourself a chance to breathe and refresh a little bit as you head into the midpoint of the semester. And so much work ahead, but so much to be proud of for getting this far. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, I had a quick question. The documents that you mentioned before, will they be emailed to us or is it going to be in the group chat?
Both. I'll put that, well, there'll be 3 places. So all of you that registered through Zoom, I will email you the handouts. If you are part of the digital peer network, I'll post them in the chat and you can come to our events page and find the recording and the handouts. Just give us a couple days to get those up.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much.
Mm-hmm.